All right, guys, here's the lesson preview for your final project for this trimester in science. It is our Prove It Project Part 2, and this is where we take all of the information that we have gained, and we are going to talk about and do some research on a specific earthquake and a specific volcano. So these are eruptions or natural disasters that have happened, okay? The nice part is you guys are going to have a chance to choose which one you would like to research, which is going to give you a little bit of freedom on what you'd like to do. So I want to walk you through the actual assignment and what you're going to do. Sorry about that cough. All right. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick one earthquake and one volcano to research. There are 7 examples of each one. The thing is, some of these are going to have a little bit more information on them, and some of them are not going to have as much, but there's still enough to do the entire project. Okay, so you can see from the volcanoes, you go from Mount Vesuvius to Krakatoa to Mount St. Helens to Mauna Loa. Like, those are some different examples. Over here, you're going to have to, if you do this one, you're going to have to type that in. That is the name of an actual volcano. You may want to also put in a video of how to actually pronounce that. Okay, down here are some famous earthquakes. We have the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, one that happened in Anchorage, Sumatra, Haiti. So those are some big ones. Right here's the Loma Prieta. That's the one that happened during the World Series that we saw the video on. Okay, so all of these are famous volcanoes and famous earthquakes. And what you are going to do is you are going to be making 2 different Google slideshows that includes information on research and stuff that we've been talking about in class. So down here are the directions. They're pretty straightforward, and I want you to follow them. You are going to pick one volcano and one earthquake from the list above. You get to choose. Okay, my suggestion is once you do it, you highlight which one you're doing. So if I'm doing Mount Vesuvius, I come through and I highlight it. That way you know that that's the one you're doing. Okay. Same thing if we're going to do Sumatra, we highlight that one and do it. You get to choose. All right, you're going to be creating slideshow presentations on Google Slides, okay? You're going to create 2 separate. That's why it's highlighted in yellow here, okay? Then step 3 says, as you view the steps, it's the numbered list for each natural disaster. Each step is a different slide. So down here is everything that needs to be included in the volcano slideshow. Okay, you'll notice that there are 7 different numbers. That means that you're going to have at least 7 different slides. Okay, so right here, slide number 1 would be name of your volcano and then your own name. 2, you're going to research what type of volcano it is. So this is on the second slide. Is the shield, cinder cone, composite? Is it active, dormant, or extinct? You now need to explain, why is this considered, let's say it's a cinder cone volcano. Why is it a cinder cone volcano? And explain that in detail, like what is a cinder cone volcano? You need to explain if it's active, dormant, or extinct. So if you say active, you need to tell us why it's active and what that means when we talk about a volcano. So you're going to go through and you're going to do that for each natural disaster. Right here, it says you can have one slide spread out over a few different slides. So let's say that for the type of volcano, you can't fit all of that information on one slide. You can move it to a second slide. So this one would take up 2 slides. You just need to use the word CONT, which it means continued. Okay, these should be the titles of your slides. So as your teacher's clicking through it, we can just quickly see what they are. Please keep them in order. It's going to allow us as your teachers to grade it quicker and make sure that you have all the information. Okay, so you're going to do that for both. So at minimum for the volcano one, you should have 7 slides. At minimum for the earthquake, you should have 8 slides. All right, then you're going to do research. So you are going to Google or Bing or whatever your natural disasters. So if you're looking at Mount Vesuvius, you're going to be looking up Mount Vesuvius. And you're going to come up with the actual volcano. And in part of that, you're going to come up with like researching like when they were actual eruptions, okay? With these volcanoes, keep in mind that sometimes they've erupted multiple times, okay? So you're going to be looking for information about them and then about their eruptions, okay? So it says when you do research your natural disasters and answer the questions below, be detailed in your explanation. So don't just say it erupted in September 18th, 2020, and then tell us nothing else. You need to give us more information, okay? You will want to use your notes. So anything that we took during the earthquakes, volcanoes, possibly even talking about density would also be another thing, convection currents, all those things, like how they formed, hint, 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 hint. You could put that in there, okay? All right, step 5, this map right here, and it's the same big one up here, so I'm going to come up here. This you need to include into your presentation. So you're going to copy and paste it into both slideshows. The reason being is you are going to put on this map where a famous eruption happened or the earthquake happened. So if the earthquake happened, let's say right here, I'm going to put a symbol there somehow. You guys can figure out how to do that. And then you're going to paste it. And then down below, you're going to explain why that happened here. Guys, right here are the different fault lines. This should help you explain how and why these natural disasters happen. Use this information to help you, but it will be this map. And like I said, there's a smaller version here. Okay? You need to include, again, information on how this landform formed or the disaster happened. Okay. You need to include videos, pictures into your presentation. Don't just make it words only. That's going to be really boring. So you need to have videos, you need to have pictures, you need to have all of those different things in. So as your teacher goes through, he can be like, okay, you do understand and you are getting some good information there. As you're writing your information on here, do not just copy and paste from Google. You need to put it into your own words. So you need to put it through your brain. You need to figure out like what it should sound like, and you need to actually write it in your own words. So again, don't just copy and paste or highlight or screen snippet tool in there. You need to do that. Your videos and stuff obviously can be copy and pasted, and your pictures can be copy pasted. All right. They should help give information, but not be the only information you have. So you should not have cinder cone if it's a cinder cone and then just a video about cinder cone. You need to explain that. The video then would be backup support. Finally, when you are finished your presentation, you're going to submit to Canvas. But in this case, you're going to submit the URLs, okay? And I did make a video about how to submit URLs. You're going to need to watch that. I am not going to explain that here. But you will submit the first URL, so let's say your volcano URL, which is up here, and then you will go and resubmit your second URL, which would be your earthquake. If you want to do it in the reverse order with earthquake and then volcanoes, good for you. All right, so let's go through and let's talk about what's going to be in each presentation. So in your volcano presentation, again, minimum 7 slides. Right here, it's going to be name of volcano, your name. What's the type of volcano? Okay, you explain that, I already did that. Location. So this is where you would put it on the map. So you're going to give what continent did it happen, what country, what city, any lakes, oceans nearby. We want you to kind of give like, an opinion of like what it is. So if it happened in New Glarus, Wisconsin, okay, I would say the continent would be North America. It happened in the United States of America, in New Glarus. We are around, the Little Sugar River, just south of Madison, and Madison has the other lakes like that. Other knowable places, we're in Greene County. We are north of Monroe, south of Madison, located by Belleville. Okay, so all of those are things that help me give locations. Maybe there's something major around it. So maybe it's in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Obviously, New Glarus is not in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, but it would be there. Okay, then you're going to copy and paste your map in. You're going to add a star to the location, and then you're going to kind of explain, like, what does that information tell us? So if it's at a divergent boundary, you would say it happens at a divergent boundary. Then you would explain how that earthquake or volcano would form there. If it's at a convergent boundary, same thing. Same thing with the transform boundary. Okay? You explain how it formed, and that's the next step. Think about plate tectonics. So what plates were given, be descriptive, everything else, explain everything. I'm going to actually add something in here as we speak. Boundary. Okay, so that's in there. So important volcano features. So you'll find out what makes it unique. So example of things to include would be, does it have a vent? Is there a caldera? What's the type of magma? Okay, how many peaks does it have? How tall is it? What's the age? Okay, you might not find all of these, and that's okay. Some of this information is going to be hard to find, but you still need to try to look up that information and add it to your. Step 5 is probably the one you're going to have the most information on. It's going to be the different eruptions. So we're going to have one slide that's about the major eruptions, so the biggest eruptions that have happened. Okay, you're going to talk about them. Okay, you're going to explain kind of what happened, how many people, all those different things. You're going to have another part that talks about what was the overall largest eruption. Okay, because each one of these had one super large eruption. And finally, you're going to have what is the last eruption, so the most recent. Maybe it was in 1980, maybe it was in 2020. Okay? Again, you're going to explain in detail each of these eruptions. So when it happened, why it happened, what was the amount of damage, see if you can find the cost, see if there are lives lost, how many, what are some interesting facts about each eruption. This would be a really good place if you could find videos or pictures to add into that. Okay? These next two questions, these are going to cause you to think a lot, and we don't have a whole lot of information in our notes about it. But maybe you can find a pattern between the eruptions. So maybe there was something that led up to the eruption. Okay, maybe there was that the eruptions lasted for a set number of times. Maybe it was every 50 years it happens. So you need to see if you can find a pattern between them. Okay, that question is going to take some time and take some thinking. Okay, same thing. With this would be, what does this mean about the future of this volcano? So if you pattern that it's every 50 years and the last eruption happened roughly 40 years ago, you know that you can say within the next 10 to 20 years, we should expect another eruption. So something like that. Okay. 6, this one part you're going to enjoy. This is your fun facts. So you're just going to find out what's interesting information about your volcanoes. Okay, we want to try to stick to 5 or less because you could get like 30 and it's just going to be too much. Resources. Here's where it is. Just copy and paste the URL for any site that you use, and it'll just be on the back page. Okay, we're not going to go the whole correct format. It's literally just going to be copy and paste the URLs. Okay, so that way if I need to look, I can look at them. Okay, that is volcanoes. Earthquakes, in a completely different slideshow. Same thing. Name your earthquake, your name, the location, boom. Magnitude of the earthquake on the Richter scale. So here's where you need to do some information. You need to tell me, how big was this earthquake? Was it a 9.2? Was it a 3.4? You need to then explain, what in the world does that mean? Okay. Compared to other earthquakes, meaning if you had a 9.0 earthquake, how is that like compared to like a 5.4 earthquake? How much bigger is that? Okay, that's what we mean when we say compared to other earthquakes. Describe the earthquake. Time, when did it happen? Date, what are the number of people affected? Effects of the earthquake, what happened because of the initial earthquake? How much damage was done? Were there any fires or anything afterwards? Okay, so all of this information is where you describe the actual earthquake. Again, another good spot for pictures, another good spot for videos. All right, now you're going to talk about waves. So you're going to kind of explain just general information. What are some P wave? What is a P wave? What is an S wave? What is a surface wave? Okay. One thing you may be able to find is what's called a seismograph of your actual earthquake. If you do find that, post the seismograph in and then go through and see if you can identify where the P wave happened, the S wave, and the surface waves. Okay. This is really interesting information if you do it. Finally, fun facts about your earthquakes. Again, 5 or so. When we say fun facts, obviously we understand we're talking about a natural disaster. They're not that fun because, people have died and bad things like that. However, when we say fun facts, it's just interesting things that have happened. 7, this question you're going to have to do a little bit of research on. Explain how seismologists, they're the people that predict earthquakes, how do they actually predict earthquakes? Okay, so you need to do some research and you need to tell us that information. Again, another spot for a good video, but I want you to put that in your own words. Finally, your resources. Again, copy and paste your URL. Guys, that is the project. Okay, so 2 separate slideshows, one on volcanoes, one on earthquakes, and you have your volcanoes and your earthquakes here. Last thing, let's say you are struggling to find information. Can you switch? Yes, you can. Okay, just don't spend like 3 hours doing it and then decide to switch. If you're within the first 40 minutes and you're struggling, switch volcanoes. Okay, switch earthquakes. Once you get done, you are going to click in here and you are going to submit it following the directions for the how to submit to URL video. You need to click and watch that, and you're going to submit it that way. That's it. That is our time. I hope you guys have a great day.